Hello everyone, my name is Livia Manzini and I'm a doctoral researcher at the University of Birmingham. My PhD research focuses on the role of correct pronunciation and intonation in teaching Italian as a foreign language to English native speakers. In particular, I'm trying to find new teaching strategies to teach segmental and suprasegmental features of Italian through blended learning and other online tools. And today I will introduce you the recent results of my PhD research, which focus on the use of drama techniques to teach communicative skills. In particular, I will show you materials which I've devised during the past academic years to teach communicative skills to first year and second year students. As you may all be aware, teaching foreign languages during the COVID-19 pandemic has been widely challenging, especially because the hybrid delivery and in some cases the online-only delivery have led to the necessity to rethink the materials and activities to be used in class in order to teach linguistic skills. In this respect, researchers and language tutors have produced a fruitful debate regarding the use of new teaching tools, especially online tools, which can be adopted during online teaching in order to focus the attention of students on specific linguistic skills. However, communicative skills have been identified not only by language tutors but also by students as the most challenging skill to be picked up during distance learning. In this respect, during the past academic year, I've tried to elaborate and devise materials based on drama techniques, which can help students to learn and improve their communicative skills in virtual learning environments by practicing the language in more realistic communicative situations. The idea of devising teaching materials based on drama techniques comes from previous research and studies in this field. In fact, from the second half of the 20th century, with increasing predominance and interest in the communicative approach to modern language teaching, drama activities have been widely integrated in the foreign language class. In particular, the great success of the communicative approach required the adoption of new teaching methods which could privilege the development of communicative skills over the translation abilities of students. In this respect, over the past decades, many scholars have elaborated foreign language teaching methods based on drama techniques and on drama education. This particular use of drama activities is fundamental to teach foreign languages as it focuses the attention on the use of creative drama to develop the spontaneity of expression, to focus on freedom of expressions over what students actually express, on the development of concentration, creativity, and sensibility. At this point, before devising new materials and before defining the new teaching strategies that language tutors should apply in order to help the students to improve their communicative skills in virtual learning environments, a question arises. So how do we get our students to speak in online classes? In order to answer this question, three elements must be taken into consideration. The first element is represented by the materials themselves, which should valorize the acquisition of the target language through simple but effective activities and which should help students to practice their communicative skills in realistic and meaningful communicative contexts. The second element are the topics, which should be relevant for students and which should allow them to analyze further specific aspects related to the target culture. And finally, the tools that language tutors decide to use during the online classes should help interaction and the development of specific linguistics and communicative skills. In the next slides, I will show you a couple of examples of the materials that I've devised during the past academic year to help students to improve their communicative skills while learning Italian in virtual learning environments. The first example that you can see in this first slide are loops. Loops are brief dialogues which require students to perform them an indefinite number of times. In fact, as you can see from the English version of the loops, they can be repeated an indefinite number of times, as the last line can act as both as either a reply or a question to the first line. And students can be required to use their pronunciation and intonation differently in order to express various emotional status, while practicing different linguistic aspects, for example, specific grammatical rules and vocabulary or idiomatic expressions. Another characteristic of loops is the register, so the type of language that it's used, which is quite easy, everyday language, and it is also applied in everyday communicative contexts. And this is particularly effective, especially for first-year beginner students, as they are required to improve their vocabulary as much as possible, and also they are required to practice very basic grammatical rules in possible realistic and effective communicative contexts. The second example that I will show you today is related to drama education, since students will be asked to perform a dialogue. This activity is divided into 3 parts, and the first part requires students to watch a scene taken from a very famous film named I 100 Passi by Marco Tullio Giordana, which is related to the general topic of mafia. Students are required to watch the scene twice, and while the first time they're only required to watch the scene and to understand as much as possible what characters are saying, during the second time, while watch the scene, students are required to read the dialogue and to find out the meanings of words that they don't know. The second part of this activity requires students to write punctuation in the dialogue of the scene that they have just watched. In fact, students are required to watch the scene again, paying attention to the pauses, the intonation, the pronunciation of actors, and then to write down punctuation. The third part of this activity requires students to check the punctuation that they have just written by listening, by watching to the scene of the movie again, and then to perform the dialogue by paying attention to pronunciation, intonation, pauses, gestures. The second element that I pointed out as fundamental in order to be able to answer the question, how do we get our students to speak in online classes, are topics. The selection of topics becomes fundamental when while we are devising new teaching materials. In fact, defining a few cultural relevant areas that could be of interest for our students and which may differ a little from the main topics that are analyzed during the core modules, lectures and seminar could be fundamental in order to make our new materials and our new teaching strategies particularly effective for online teaching. So the first thing to do is to adapt the content of communicative skill classes to the students' needs and interests. However, still the topics of the communicative skills classes can still be related, linked to the general topic covered during the lectures and seminars. In this way, we will make the content of the seminars and of the lectures even more relevant for students. For example, in the second activities that I've shown you before, the one related to the performance of a dialogue taken from a movie, this activities was linked to the general topic of the core module, which was mafia, but the topic was analyzed from a different point of view. So from the point of view of a film director and from the point of view of creative arts, for example. So the last element to be taken into account by language tutors while before devising teaching materials and new teaching strategies to help students improve their communicative skills are the tools to be used during online teaching. In this slide, I've listed 4 different online tools that can be used in order to improve communicative skills, and in particular, I would like to focus my attention on the first one, which is called Vocaro, and which turned out to be particularly helpful in order to help my students to improve their pronunciation and intonation skills. In fact, this tool is an online voice recording tool which can help students as they can record themselves while performing, while speaking. Then they can listen to their performance and download an MP3 file and send it to their tutors to get some feedback regarding their oral performance. So the last element that I need to analyze now is the feedback received from students regarding the new teaching materials and teaching strategies that I have adopted during the past academic year. So the general feedback from students was very positive, as they really enjoyed the communicative skills classes and the use of new technological tools for improving their communicative skills. The use of these online tools was also helpful for them in order to get ready for the final summative oral assessment, as they were conducted online, and so the use of online tools during the whole academic year has helped them to develop specific skills which turned out to be particularly helpful for the summative assessment. And they also stated that the use of this online tool gave them the chance to improve skills which are not particularly trained during normal communicative skills hours. And moreover, I also decided to ask some Italian native speakers which was their opinion regarding the role of communicative skills while listening to foreigners speaking in Italian, especially considered the employment. And the Italian native speakers who took part to my questionnaires revealed that actually communicative skills are absolutely fundamental, and they can really have a positive or a negative impact regarding the future employment chances of modern languages graduates. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you enjoyed.